To look at a great horned owl, you'd never guess he was a killer. Sitting there quietly for the day, he seems as cuddly as a teddy bear. His beak, which is curved like a meat hook, looks more like a nose to us. And those piercing eyes, specially adapted for hunting in dim light, they seem intelligent enough to see right into our minds. He looks so human. And that's part of his bad luck, because he looks like us, and we think he is like us. So we judge him by our standards. Any creature that sits so quietly must be a deep thinker. So we respect him. But then we remember he is a killer. For us, the owl is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the bird world. The owl, master hunter of the night. He takes on all of the night's supernatural powers. The wizard Merlin looked to him for advice. He was a god to the ancients. We still fear the dark, so we fear the Night Stalker. Most often, owls have been omens of sickness and death, ungodly creatures, unclean, the funeral bird. Some thought their cries could wake the dead. The ancient Egyptians believed that owls were the souls of the victims of murder, crying out for revenge. Even the Indians of Canada's west coast, who revered them, knew that when the owl called their name, he was the messenger of death. But in the real world, the owl is death's shadow only for his prey. Spring came late this year. The great horned owl chicks are younger than they should be. The female still stands a close guard on the nest, while the owlets practice the owlish art of sitting still. But don't be fooled. They're hungry. They're always hungry. The faster they grow, the more meat they need. And the male is forced to hunt on the day shift. This change of schedule catches his competition, the peregrine falcon, by surprise. An old wives' tale has it that owls cannot see during daylight hours. But in fact, they see better than we can. This one spots a brown mouse at 100 paces. A quick bite of the vanquished, and the victor carries home the spoils. The male may do the hunting, but the female takes over the feeding. The non-stop hunger cries of the young and one accusing look drive the male to hunt to the limits of his range. The countryside road is where the nightlife is. All the hooligans, the scroungers, drawn to the garbage or to each other. Who will eat whom is the question. And then the shadow of silent wings passes over. Though the great horned owl has tackled animals as large as foxes when hungry enough, he singles out the rat. In absolute darkness, he is as blind as we are, but rarely is a night pitch black. And an owl has magnificent eyes. His night vision is 2.5 times better than ours. And what his eyes can't tell him, his ears can. Even with the country traffic, he pinpoints the high-pitched squeaking and rustling of his prey. It's tempting. Too tempting. Drivers don't usually stop. And when they do, they usually don't find what it is they've hit, unless it's dead. There is nowhere to hide from the light. He's hurt. He can't fly. He can still defend himself. The man is scared, too. But he does what he feels he must. He protects both himself and the owl. But what do you do with a wounded bird of prey? Luckily, there is a place for wounded owls. And a woman who knows exactly what to do. Kay McKeever. People send owls to her in various states of disrepair from all over North America. The Humane Society has made this run many times. McKeever's Owl Rehabilitation and Research Foundation is the best anywhere. Kay and her husband Larry respect the wildness of the bird. They handled it only long enough to find out what's wrong. The wing seems tender. It must be bruised. Huge eyes and ears take up more room than his brain. He may look wise to us, but he's not really a very smart bird. As a hunter, he relies on his tools, not his strategy. Fortunately, there are no signs of shock, which can kill an owl quickly. The major problem is the leg. Without a doubt, it's broken, and badly, according to Dr. Taylor's X-ray. Can they put a broken owl back together again? More than one life depends on a swift and sure recovery. Our great horned owl's partner waits. But she must face hard reality. If her mate doesn't return soon, she must leave the nest to hunt for food. If she leaves the nest unprotected, her clumsy young are at the mercy of any passing red-tailed hawk or raccoon. Kay McKeever is also waiting with fingers crossed. There's no room in her breeding program for a bird as common as the great horned owl. He must mend and mend well so that he can be set free. If he doesn't, a simple broken leg might end his life. Before unprotected hands get near his talons, the great horned owl must be relaxed, feeling no pain. The tranquilizer is working. The bone is set, and the leg is wrapped in cloth. The female stayed close to the nest all night. Now she can wait no longer. Her young need food, and she must hunt. Her mate may be saved by a plaster cast, much like those used to set human bones. But it will be weeks before the cast comes off, if his leg heals. The mother knows exactly what she needs. Unlike most birds, she is bigger and stronger than her mate, an expert hunter. Only when she is nesting does the male do all the hunting. She hunts very well. Starving is not so much the danger. It's leaving her young. They can be knocked out of the nest by dive-bombing crows or snatched by a hawk. Only 50% of owlets with both parents survive. Under the protective wing of K. McKeever, the male is safer than he's ever been. When the tranquilizer wears off and he can stand on his own 2 feet again, he goes into the intensive care cage. There is not enough room for him to flap around, so his bruised wing should heal. Good things come to her who waits. A baby raccoon pursues a snake, a dangerous game. He's too young to know the score. No great horned owl can resist a nice, tender snake. She gobbles it whole. The male has finally graduated to a hospital cage outside. The cast is off, but the leg is still weak. He huddles against the confusing calls of strangers, the burrowing owl, and the snowy owl, far from his Arctic turf. Kay is a good hunter, too. It takes 300 mice a day to feed 100 patients. The regulars watch for their dinner just as they would in the wild. But here, the instincts of a predator serve little purpose. Almost all of McKeever's owls are so badly disabled, they cannot survive in the wild. They live here, in cages much like their wild homes, but they still have a purpose. Even an owl with a badly damaged wing can breed. And many generations of their young can be set free to increase wild populations. But no young owl knows how to hunt skillfully. They must have practice under the watchful eyes of their parents. In this case, Kay must be mother, father, and patient teacher to them all. This little screech owl doesn't know what to do. He's never seen a mouse that moves. It'll be a long time before anyone compares him to the shadow of death. Some learn faster than others. The young snowy owl passes his examinations with flying colors. He may be released this spring, waiting through the long winter with the other juveniles. Like any graduate, he's eager to be independent. The great horned owl is almost strong enough to be released, if only the cage would open. As early fall approaches, the female ranges farther for food. Her own needs will double in the fall, and she can't forget her growing young. They can no more take care of themselves than Kay's adopted offspring. Her bobbing dance is the telltale prelude to the kill. Her young have never been more vulnerable. They made the final leap from the nest, fluttering and falling, but they are not yet able to fly. Their bodies are still too heavy for their wings. Now they are called branchers, for obvious reasons. The owls in the release cages are restless, but none so restless as the great horned owl. He's ready. The trees of his home ground are beginning to change color. Near the road where he was hit, the McKeevers prepare him for release. A band is placed on his leg, a permanent reminder of his stay. One last human's hands. And then he is free. His mate is still nearby. Owls have been known to wait 3 years for their partners to return. She sees a familiar shape over the trees long before a human would. A shape that heads straight for their empty nest. The family is together again, and the new generation will survive to build their own lives in the new wilderness.